The operators decided to peer within the pile through an inspection hatch. The interior of the reactor, normally the dull grey colour of graphite, had turned a glowing red. Wisps of flame flickered around the edges of the channels. The full magnitude of the situation became apparent. Several cartridges inside the reactor had burst open, and the uranium inside was burning, releasing radioactive particles into the atmosphere. One of those involved, 32-year-old technician Arthur Wilson, later recalled his thoughts at this moment. "Oh dear," he remarked, "now we really are in a pickle." The difficult task of controlling the fire fell to Windscale's deputy manager, Tom Toohey. Toohey's first instinct was to turn off the auxiliary fans, which had been employed to cool the temperature of the reactor, but were now fanning the flames inside. With this done, he attempted to create a fire break around the burning area. Workers used scaffolding poles to try and push out the remaining fuel rods, but this proved nearly impossible. The extreme heat was causing the cartridges to expand and deform, lodging them firmly inside the channels. Toohey was now faced with a difficult decision. His last resort was to use water to combat the fire. However, this would run the risk of causing an explosion within the reactor.
The worry, of course, was if the water produced hydrogen, the whole lot could have gone up. And at that moment, it wasn't a very pleasant situation.
With no other viable options remaining to him, Toohey ultimately decided to take the risk and douse the reactor with water. He attempted to mitigate the production of steam by ordering fire crews to feed hoses into the channels furthest away from the fire, allowing the water to slowly seep into the overheated area. This process began at 9 AM on the morning of October 11th. Toohey and his men nervously awaited the results. By midday, no explosion had occurred, and it was clear that the fire was beginning to die. Firefighters kept pouring water into the reactor for the next 30 hours, by which point the fire had been completely extinguished. Britain's worst nuclear accident was finally over, but its consequences were only just beginning. The Windscale disaster was unprecedented. It was Britain's first nuclear accident, but the government was determined to downplay its severity. It was decided that, in order to avoid panic, the local area, including the nearby town of Seascale, should not be evacuated. Instead, limited safety measures were put into place across the surrounding towns. Children were sent home from school, residents were advised to stay inside and keep their windows and doors closed, while workers at the plant were given respirators to wear. Other measures involved local dairy farms, which were identified as major vehicles for contamination. Cows would graze on irradiated grass, and this would pass into their milk before being consumed by local people. Samples of milk produced in the area on the 12th of October showed elevated levels of the radioactive isotope iodine-131, and the decision was made to order all dairy farms within 2 miles of Windscale to